Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
And a good morning to you, or whatever the case may be. It's Friday, guys. It is the 13th of January, 2017. And on this day, next week, the most shameful act in American history will occur. The peaceful transition of power from the honorable administration of Barack Obama and Joe Biden, scandal-free for 8 years, to this nightmare rogues gallery of wannabe autocrats. I'm still in a level of denial here. I really am. And I can't imagine how I'm even going to get through that day. I'll tell you one thing, I ain't going to watch. And again, I beg you not to watch. There's nothing that will piss that son of a bitch off more than the lowest ratings for an inauguration ever. Already they are saying there's something like 200 bus permits have been requested for that weekend by people going to the inauguration, and over 1,000 bus permits for people going to the demonstration the next day. So I have a feeling, of course, people who are going to go to a Republican inauguration don't tend to take buses. Let's be clear about that. They take limos and private jets. All right. Milt sent me something yesterday that's just beyond belief. It really is. As he said, life imitates art. Gary Trudeau, as you know, the cartoonist behind the long running strip about American politics, Doonesbury, actually put Trump in his strip years ago. Because, Trudeau would say, because he's a comic strip character. He seamlessly goes from real life into my strip. You don't have to change a thing. You don't have to change his hair, his skin color. You don't have to change the utterances that appear in the balloons. You don't have to change a thing. He is made for the comics. And I don't know if you saw this Doonesbury cartoon, but this ran on December 18th, okay? So about 3 weeks ago. And in it, it's a 4-panel cartoon, and Trudeau is in it imagining Trump's news conference. And here's the first panel. It's Trump, and he's saying, whether it's the failing New York Times or the dishonest Washington Post, these are not good people. So sleazy. Okay. Second panel. The mainstream media are slime, okay? You should be ashamed of all your horrible, false stories. Third panel. Okay, I'll take one question. Breitbart, he points. And the fourth panel, thank you, sir. The Breitbart reporter, by the way, is wearing a KKK outfit. Thank you, sir. Is this transition great or what? That's the Breitbart question. And Trump's response, see, now that's a beautiful question. Like, unbelievably fair. Okay. That was 3 weeks ago. It is almost a direct report of the actual news conference of 2 days ago. When life and comics and our nation's politics and government are so conflated to the point where they're interchangeable, then we are in uncharted territory and clearly dangerous territory. I know we all keep just expecting somebody stand up and say, no, this will not stand. No, we're not doing this. We're not doing the inauguration. We are not doing this. Can't we stop before we... Oh. Bob writes, Lynn, oh, he's talking about, we had a troll caller yesterday who I think called twice. He called the first time and just swore at me, right? And then he called back and stupidly said, what do you think about Donald Trump? I don't mind that kind of thing at all. And one of the things I think that's happened to talk radio that happened, which is unfortunate, is that it stopped being a meeting place for people of different points of view, so that we could actually engage in some back and forth. And now it's just an echo chamber. And frankly, I don't think it's as interesting. It's not as much fun for me. And it's just not as... Most of my radio career, maybe half now, I would say I had an audience that was eclectic totally. I mean, it was made up of all different kinds of people. And it made for much, much more interesting conversation. So I love it when somebody who, although that was not I didn't love him because he was obviously just trying to blow things up. But I do miss people who kept me on my toes and challenged me and you, and things were better then. Bob writes, I know you were shocked, as was I, about that crackpot son of a bitch Trump caller yesterday that had the nerve to call your show and say, fuck you, bitch. Is that what he said? Yeah. I wasn't shocked at all. I mean, I hope he heard your show the day after his buddy Trump won the election when you said something to the 53% of white women who voted for Trump over the 42% of white women who voted for Hillary. I hope someone tracks down where he lives so you can, as you wanted to do those 50 punches frickin' lights out. Nah, I don't know. You're reacting much more strongly than I did. Seriously. Doesn't bother me a bit. What a sick freak he was calling your show just to say, fuck you, bitch. You know, I disagree. I mean, that doesn't even rise to a level of even bothering to talk about these days. That's nothing. That's nothing. 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 And, but thank you for being so outraged on my behalf. And Bob says, and just so you know, I don't ever recall someone of that delusional magnitude calling your show to say such crap in the almost 30 plus years I've listened to you. Well, you know why? Because I was on radio. And if somebody said something like that, and it did happen on occasion, but rarely, you dumped it. You never heard it. We had a 7-second delay. So if the times that somebody called and said, you know, fuck you, Cullen, we just pushed a button and bang, you never heard it. So we have no such constraints here because we're not on the airwaves. We're on the internet. And the Federal Communications Commission doesn't have any sway over us at all. We can say every 4-letter word we want, obviously, and no one's going to take our license away. So it's just totally different animal in that regard. And Bob says, and I certainly don't recall liberals going on pro-Trump talk shows after the election saying the same thing to hosts. I wouldn't know. I don't listen to that stuff. I don't know. I think in general, we're all behaving more badly than we used to. All of us. The bar has been lowered so far. I mean, all you have to do is look at who the President of the United States is. A extraordinary vulgarian. So, I mean, the little people are playing catch-up now in terms of being vulgar and uncivil. I just have to tell you guys that besides struggling with all these health issues I've got going right now, it is easily 100 degrees in the studio. Celine's over there looking like she's going to pass out. And as much as I'm having trouble breathing, I'm really struggling in here now, and I'm feeling like I'm going to... So, anyway, I just want you to know we're dying! Somebody help. Help us, please. We're dying here! 21st floor! Okay, so, I woke up this morning, I looked at my Twitter feed, and he was at it. He was at it, and you know what he was doing? He was ripping our intelligence again. Just ripping it and saying the Russians said he was doing it again at 7 o'clock this morning. We got a call. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, Lynn. I agree with you on that. There's people like that don't even faze me.
No.
I did something on Christmas. Well, I probably shouldn't have. My daughter-in-law, she voted for Trump. And I said, I think Hillary lost because of her pantsuit. First thing out of her mouth was, she effing lied. I just laughed at her.
Yeah, no, we've all been brought lower.
Right.
By Donald Trump.
I like to toy with those people sometimes, because I get a rise out of them every time. The ones that bother me is the ones that are the actual politicians. That's the ones that really get my
Exactly.
Regular people don't.
Exactly.
Because they're misinformed and all that, so they don't bother me one bit.
Well, good for you. We all need thicker skins now, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, have a good weekend.
You have a good weekend too.
Thank you.
Bye.
And I must say, I'm looking forward to the distraction of football. I am not kidding you. I am just so delighted that both the Steelers and the Packers are in these playoffs, and I can pretend that that's the most important thing in the world on Sunday and have some measure of respite. And I don't care about having said, I don't watch anymore. I really don't much, but right now I am grabbing at everything I can to just keep myself going. Yeah, so our soon-to-be president was tweeting today about crooked Hillary. Imagine that. And about how it's a witch hunt and they're out to get him. This after we now know that every intelligence head says that it was the Russians and that they did it to benefit him. My God, help us. There was a little piece of information today in a Washington Post piece that is extremely troubling and, again, brings up the possibility of treason on the part of Trump's inner circle in regard to the Russians. You will recall, it was, a week ago, 2 weeks ago, finally, that the Obama White House said, all right, we're hitting back now at what Russia did. And they threw out 35 Russian operatives that I guess were operating out of Long Island somewhere. I mean, I didn't pay, but we threw them out of the country. We threw 35 Russian spies out, I guess. On that day that our government sent 35 Russian spies packing, Donald Trump's main guy for foreign policy and national security, General Flynn, called the Russian embassy a number of times. It is known that there were calls from Flynn to the Russian embassy, and a lot of people are saying now, what the hell would that be about? It's also conceivable that it is, in fact, treason for somebody who is not. I just telling you, it's just a little line. These people, if they prove to be, it could be they're going to end up hanging. I hope they do. Did you see he was praising Trump today? Turkey's wonderful president, Erdogan. He has been heard to say that Donald Trump was masterful in his treatment of the media at his news conference the other day. So we have despots all over the world now checking in and saying, way to go, Trump. That's how we do it here, too. Actually, we do a little bit more. We jail them, we terrorize them, and sometimes we kill them. But, you'll learn. Maybe you'll be doing that soon enough, too. You can't make this up. It's not like I'm engaging in kind of any hyperbole here, okay? Now, what I just said about this Flynn character, who, if you'll recall, was actually on the Russian payroll for a little bit. I mean, he was bought and paid and was a contributor to the Russians' propaganda network, RT. And now he is one of the most influential advisors to the man who will be president of the United States in a week, who denigrates our intelligence and cites, again this morning in his tweets, Russian intelligence. I want to share with you something that was in an Israeli newspaper yesterday. This is the newspaper called Haaretz. It is not a right-wing, tends to be more sort of moderate to liberal newspaper. And it says that American intelligence officials warned Israeli intelligence officials against sharing information with the Trump administration. Now understand, the Americans and the Israelis trade intelligence all the time. Of course, the Americans and the Brits and countries we are allied with, we exchange intelligence. But the Israelis are saying that they have been warned based on suspicions of possible ties between Trump and Putin that they should not share highly classified information as they have in the past with the United States now that Trump is in charge, because it is conceivable that once the Trump people have it, the Russians will have it, the Iranians will have it. Now, these are people who don't screw around. We're talking about these intelligence operatives. They're smart, they're courageous, they're anything but naive. According to Haaretz, which, by the way, is a totally legitimate news source, American intelligence officials expressed despair at a recent meeting with their Israeli counterparts. You think you have despair? I got news for you. We have a call. Hello, caller.
Hi.
Hi, go ahead.
I wanted to talk to Lynn.
Yes, you are talking to Lynn.
Oh, my God. I'm sorry, Lynn. Didn't recognize your voice.
That's okay.
I just wanted to comment on something you said yesterday and you said today about someone coming to help us. Lynn, there's no one that's going to be able to help us.
No.
The Senate won't help us. The House will not help us. The FBI, they'll cover up for him.
Yeah.
And the media, now his mantra is fake news. So if they report anything, it's going to be fake news. All you heard this before, fake news.
Right.
No, we are doomed. We're going to a very dark place, and no one can help us. So,
I don't disagree with you. And
I don't know who can help us.
I mean, I saw one of the tweets I saw this morning was from Tom Tomorrow, the great cartoonist, and he just started out, his first tweet of the day was, well, good morning, my fellow doomed Americans.
That's how I feel, too.
Yeah.
Our society's going to make a definite shift, and it's going to be like something we've never seen before.
No. And you wonder what it'll take to wake up the millions. It is. I have never in my life, and that includes the Russian missile crisis, where we thought we might die within the next 24 hours. I have never in my life felt such fear.
Yes. I try and talk myself out of it, but I don't see a way out. There's no one who has authority or the power to challenge him. They're just so glad to be on board.
Frightening.
Yes. So have a good day.
Yeah, you too. Yeah. I mean, I know it seems as if we are being overly dramatic, but you know what? We're not! We're not. Okay, so according to Haaretz, American intelligence officials meeting with their Israeli counterparts expressed despair They said this. They believe that Putin had, and here is a direct quote, our intelligence told the Israelis they think Putin has leverages of pressure over Trump. That's their term. In other words, he's got the goods on him. He's got something on him. Leverage of pressure. The president of Russia has something on the president of the United States. And why shouldn't we believe it, seeing as the president of the United States listens to Putin before he'll listen to the head of our CIA, FBI, DIA, NSA, you name it. Openly sides with the Russians. Our enemies. Right? Where are the Republicans? Are there no Republicans with a sense of honor and love of country? Huh? The American intelligence officials implied to their Israeli counterparts that Israel should be very careful when transferring intelligence information to the White House and to the National Security Council following Trump's inauguration. Our own intelligence is telling foreign intelligence, please, I know you've always done it in the past, but do not be as generous with this bunch, because we still do not know whether or not this president of the United States is in the pocket of the Kremlin. The U.S. and Israeli intelligence have cooperated mightily in the last 20 years. There's the famous, Stuxnet thing where they took down Iran's nuclear capability for a while. They cooperate, and it's been in some respects to good effect. The Haaretz report also says that American officials are convinced that Snowden handed over intelligence to Moscow in return for political asylum he received there. And that some of what he turned over to Moscow ended up in Tehran. And Tehran is increasingly dependent on Moscow. For what it's worth, okay? That is Haaretz today. Well, and so now we have what? We have the Justice Department's Inspector General announcing that there will be a full-fledged investigation into the FBI and what it did to Hillary Clinton. And why Comey put all that crap out there, which could likely have been the difference in why we now are looking at this nightmare in front of us. Let's say one thing right now. Comey is toast. But why does it take so long? Why? I mean, if the Justice Department's Inspector General is now going to, after the damage after the damage is done, now we're going to get to the bottom of this. Well, first of all, wait a minute. This Justice Department that's going to be doing this inquiry, this Justice Department, the Loretta Lynch Justice Department, has 1 week left in power. They're not going to even be able to get out of the gate on this. What are the odds, excuse me, but what are the odds that Jeff Sessions coming in as the new head of the Justice Department will continue this investigation if it ends up potentially embarrassing his president? And some people would say, oh, well, Trump wouldn't dare. I mean, come on. He can't just, that would really look bad if they stopped that investigation. Do you think they give a damn? Oh, God. So, uncharted territory. You also have that Shavitz, whatever the hell that jerk's name is, that in the House, who has spent his political career trying to take down Hillary Clinton. He has now called on the carpet the ethics head of the ethics office. He's trying to intimidate him to shut the F up about Trump's totally meaningless divestment of his business dealings. So, guys, there's no good news. What can I do? There's no good news. Remember, if you're planning on going to the march, that there are buses that are leaving from various points in Pittsburgh, from downtown Oakland, Monroeville, and even out as far as New Stanton. They'll do a pickup. And that is from DeBolt, D-E-B-O-L-T, tours. And if you want to find out, make a reservation and get on their bus, you'll go in and out on the same very long day, but you won't have to worry about, where do I park? Where am I supposed to go? And in that regard, it really works well. I'll give you a phone number, 412-461-9125, 461-9125, or just go to their website, DeBolt Unlimited, I guess. Excuse me for sniffing in your ear. I'm just beyond, what? We got a call. Hello, caller. Go ahead, please. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, you're on. Okay, you're off. Linda writes, at this point, the only place we will get any help is from our foreign country allies. No, I agree with that. I read somewhere today that if we're despairing that American media is going to do this, maybe like the British media will, or they're working it too, and other countries sort of helping us out here. You gotta hope. And then there's a few Republicans, maybe. I've been, Linda says, impressed with what McCain, Graham, and even Rubio have been willing to say. I guess the real test will be the Tillerson confirmation vote. I don't know. We're just so... Do you know Tillerson? Speaking of that, this is our Secretary of State. Probably. Tillerson, when asked to condemn the Russians for what they've done, and Putin, wouldn't do it. Also, he yesterday declined pointedly to criticize the Philippine president. The Philippine president, Duterte, who has openly bragged about murdering his own people, summarily executing people without trial. And our perhaps soon-to-be Secretary of State had this to say: America and the people of the Philippines have a long-standing friendship, and I think it's important that we keep that in perspective in engaging with the government. We need to ensure they stay an ally. Think of our secretaries of state recently. One of the big things that they are concerned about are human rights, right? Human rights. That's what the... And here is a guy who's going to be the Secretary of State, and he cannot find it to say a negative word about an autocratic lunatic, the Philippine version of Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. He cannot find it in his heart to say a negative word about a guy who has openly bragged about killing people, and who says he'd do it again, and continues to have his people kill people. Their bodies lying around the streets of Manila. Yeah? You don't have to have a trial. You just have to have somebody finger you. That guy, he sells drugs. Bang, you're dead. Tillerson, didn't have a problem with it, apparently. Amazing. And then you look, again, the contrast. Oh, God help us, the contrast. That adorable moment yesterday with Obama and Biden. Do you love those two or what? These decent men. These good men, good husbands, good fathers, good public servants, good, honorable men. And look at what America chose to succeed them. Extraordinary. So, there's this organization, Human Rights Watch, and they're all over the globe calling out countries and situations where human rights are being trampled. They put out their annual report yesterday. And for the first time since they have been doing that, the United States is right at the top of one of the countries they say is under attack in terms of sustaining human rights. We're right up there with all the other countries that autocrats have in their claws. Human Rights Watch put the United States as one of the biggest countries threatened to lose human rights. Josh writes, "Hi, Lynn, did you see that during one of the nomination hearings yesterday, the C-SPAN feed was replaced?" Yeah. So it wasn't it was Maxine Waters, the congresswoman from California, was on the floor of, I think, the House. I don't know if it was during a hearing. And she was speaking, and C-SPAN was, covering it, as C-SPAN does. And all of a sudden, in mid-sentence, she disappeared, and up popped RT, the Russian propaganda channel. Now, given what's going on in this country right now, anybody could be excused for thinking that, oh my God, the Russians are just playing us left and right. They're saying, hey, you watching C-SPAN? Look what we can do. Bang! You're watching Russia propaganda. There is no indication that was a hack. The likely, although I have to admit, given what's been going on in the last week, it's hard to discount the possibility that it was a kind of a, again, the Russians, who are just beyond gleeful with what's going on in this country right now. They just love the dysfunction, the at each other's throats, they're loving it. This is exactly what they wanted to do. Man, this is about as successful an operation as ever. They'll be teaching this one in Russian poli-sci classes forever. The brilliant takedown of the U.S. election. C-SPAN thinks, because of the nature of what C-SPAN is, they have a number of other channels that they monitor constantly coming on. They're called feeds. So they have an RT, the Russian guys, feed that comes in, and they have the feeds from CNN and MSNBC and BBC and everybody else. And they're thinking that what happened is it's just a switcher went wrong. I mean, somebody, you've seen it on TV sometimes, something will happen and bang, the wrong thing comes up. Well, that could just be a human error, somebody pushed a button, or some little glitch. The sense is that that's what it is, although there is no certainty yet as far as I know. So I wouldn't put a lot of credence on that. And C-SPAN did put out an explanation saying, as RT is one of the networks we regularly monitor, we are operating under the assumption that it was an internal routing issue, or routing issue. If that changes, we will certainly let you know. So that's where that is. Excuse me. Oh, man. Oh, the den of rogues. So I'm looking at this Betsy DeVos, who Trump wants as the education secretary. And I'm looking at this guy with a disgusting name of Puzder, who is the Hardee's and Carl's Jr. fast food, who, of course, Trump wants as his labor secretary because he knows how to screw labor. I was just reading this one little thing, and it's just mind-boggling. Let's go to the person he thinks should head Department of Education. Just a few facts about her. Unlike most past secretaries, she has never been an educator. She has never overseen a state education agency. She did not ever in her life attend a public school, nor send her children to a public school. She has had no experience whatsoever in public education. Her involvement in education has been as a money lender and a board member for groups that attempt to take taxpayer money away from the public schools and reroute them into private and religious schools. So, just so you understand, the guy he wants to put in charge of education, the woman, is somebody who does not believe in public education and who has in her life acted actively, passionately sought to destroy public education. I don't know. So, right. Chuck writes, when Paul Ryan, when questioned on repealing Obamacare yesterday, replied that he has a mandate from the people of America. What? You're kidding, right? He does? He thinks he has a mandate, does he? I'd like to remind Paul Ryan, who kept his distance from Trump throughout the election, that there's no mandate from the electorate. Paul Ryan, who asked Donald Trump to stay away from Ryan's own campaign appearances, now looks at Trump like the sweetest candy in the candy store, and Ryan can't get enough of Trump now. Hypocrite. It's worse than hypocrisy. It's worse than hypocrisy. It's the kind of stuff that, gets you consigned to a low level of hell. They had that town meeting on CNN last night with Ryan, and, this guy gets up and says, hey, I'm a small businessman. I'm a conservative guy. I worked for, I think, Ronald Reagan or something, and Obamacare saved my life. Oh, that's great, says Ryan. Well, don't worry. We're not gonna make things too difficult for you, I guess. How much do we hate these people? How much do we loathe these people? How much? My God. So what do you think we're in for? Do you ever dare to imagine? Since you can't make any of this up, you can't make the whole last year up, the most outrageous, ludicrous scenarios that you could float are perfectly reasonable. Perfectly reasonable. If in fact we have an American president who is essentially a Manchurian candidate, and he is surrounded by others like Flynn and Bannon, who openly disavow the kind of democracy that this nation has represented, and who flirt with autocracy. I mean, you can come up with just about any terrifying scenario, and I would sign off on it and say, yeah, perfectly possible. The range of possibility now it's just infinite, I suspect. So, I'm going to change the subject. There was just this little item in the New York Times today, and because it had absolutely nothing to do with politics, I glommed onto it. It's about the fact that in a lot of parts of the globe, and generally we're talking third world country, definitely here, there is a widespread practice known as avoidance speech. We don't have that here in this culture. Avoidance speech. It is also sometimes called mother-in-law language. And what it is that in some cultures, there are extraordinarily strict rules about how a daughter-in-law can speak to a mother-in-law. I mean, where words are not allowed. Certain words are not allowed. It's called avoidance speech. Get this. In Ethiopia, there are some women who follow what's called balasha, and it's a rule that forbids them, get this, from using words that begin with the same syllable as the name of their father or mother-in-law. So while you're speaking, God forbid, you use a word that starts with the same syllable that your father-in-law or mother-in-law's name is. I mean, what? And I mean, without a doubt, these kinds of things are all about keeping women down. They're all about making sure a woman understands her place. Well, my son might have married you, but guess it's a little bit better than having her tongue cut out. In some of the Bantu languages of southern Africa, married women are forbidden from using their father-in-law's name or any word that has a similar sound. I mean, come on! In Aboriginal cultures, in Australia, there are prohibitions against a man and his mother-in-law directly addressing each other. But generally speaking, in Africa and in India, these avoidance speech restrictions are a way to reinforce the inferior status of daughters-in-law. Now, I know a lot of Americans who would love it if they were prevented from speaking to their in-laws. They'd say, count me in, that's cool, I can do it. I remember when I met my in-laws for the first time. Oh my God. I was so anxious that I began vomiting. I got so sick. I could not even, I mean, it was like, hello, hello, and then they saw me to a bedroom. I made such a good impression, I'm sure. At the time, I didn't realize it was because I was anxious. Only in retrospect did I realize, oh my God, what a piece of work am I. I was so freaked that I literally, my body just shut down. And it never really got much better with them. My poor husband-to-be. But that's what happened to me. I just terrified. I know you have a sense of me as a certain kind of a person, but I mean, I was as insecure and unformed a 23, 24-year-old human being that you can't imagine. You can't imagine. Oh, God. Mary says, hey, while you're talking about the Affordable Care Act, don't forget we're going to be looking into vaccines now, too. Yeah, what's up with that? So Donald Trump's going to be the president of the United States in a week, and he's spending time talking with anti-vaxxers and setting up vaccine, agencies. What the hell is that? Did he ever speak about vaccines during the campaign? What is that? What is going on? I ask you. What is that? We don't know. Unknown. Do you know how many stories I've seen recently of people saying that they like the Affordable Care Act because it has given them insurance, but they hate Obamacare? Have you seen? There's so many stories like that. I mean, where pollsters will get it from people who they're talking to. People in a cab talking to the cab driver will get that. People, this is, again, the genius of branding. The minute the Republicans decided to call the Affordable Care Act Obamacare, that meant that all the people that they had trained to fear and loathe Barack Hussein Obama, the Kenyan, would be against it, would know it as something evil. Obamacare. Now, when those same people maybe went online to sign up for the Affordable Care Act, there was nothing there that said Obama on it. It was the Affordable Care Act. And in many instances, it gave them insurance for the first time. It saved them. Saved lives already. So, the animus toward Obama is what is driving this hatred of Obamacare, because apparently the Affordable Care Act is looked at as something pretty wonderful. Wow. So, as I said, I'm sorry. I am not at my best, guys. I'm struggling here, and forgive me. I'm struggling in a existential sense. I'm struggling emotionally, psychologically, physically, and I am not at my best. And I can't even. I think maybe being sick like this, heading into this horror of a week we're heading into, is probably fitting and proper. It'd be a bitch to feel good. So, as I said, I at least look forward to on Sunday being distracted by the gladiators. There's a reason we love that kind of stuff. I also want to ask, who are the people that go to these Steeler rallies? You know, like there's a Steeler rally in the county courthouse, little parklet square there, courtyard, I guess they call it, today. Who are the people that turn out for that? Are those the people you want to say get a life to? I mean, God bless them. But I've always wondered, to whom is that such a deal that they, I don't know. You know, there's tons of people out there in Pittsburgh land right now who are certainly not talking about this depressing stuff we're talking about. And what they are totally focused on is the football game and Joey Porter and the fact that he'll be on the sideline. This is how most Americans, I guess, get by. And I might be joining them before it's over. Oh, MB tells me here's why Trump might be into this vaccine stuff and buying into the fact that it causes trouble. It has been rumored that his youngest son, Barron, is autistic. And so I get that might be it, huh? He might believe that it was his childhood vaccinations that gave him autism, which is what some people believe. Scientists don't, but some people do. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. That would be an explanation. Huh. Well, guys, I'm about parboiled right now. You know, Celine, your cheeks are bright red. I think we're gonna save ourselves and get the hell out of here. It's about 100 degrees in here, so I'm having enough trouble as it is. Guys, thank you for putting up with me this week. I'll try to get my act together in every way over the weekend, and thanks for being there. That's all I can say. God, we gotta stick together. Mwah.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.